This is the Carty Method podcast.
Hey, welcome. In today's episode, I'm really excited to dive into a topic that so many of us in the creative world struggle with, which is perfectionism. It's one of those things that we rarely talk about. We rarely talk about it, but our approach to perfectionism can actually control how we approach our work, how we approach our careers, and even in our personal growth. Whether it's in our photography, in our business, in our personal lives, perfectionism can be an incredibly heavy burden to carry. And the truth is, while it might feel like a way to achieve excellence, perfectionism can actually become a massive barrier to your progress. As photographers, we're often our own harshest critics. We want our work to be flawless. We strive for that perfect shot, that perfect lighting, that perfect composition. But here's the catch. This constant chase for perfect ends up holding us back more than it ever helps us move forward. Today, we're going to talk about why perfectionism is actually working against you and how breaking free from this mindset can help you make real strides in your photography business and your creative journey. For over 3 decades, by the way, I've not only mastered the art of business and photography, but I've also helped countless photographers just like you break the $100,000 a year mark. Many have transitioned from their 9-to-5 jobs to a full-time thriving photography career. This isn't just theory, it's proven through my own journey and the successes of those that I've been mentoring since 1995. I've learned firsthand what it takes to blend creative passion with real-world business savvy, and I'm here to pass all of that knowledge onto you. If you're serious about leaving behind the grind and stepping into a life where your creativity pays the bills, this podcast is your roadmap. I'm going to guide you through the mindset shifts, through the strategies, and the practical tools that have helped me and so many others transform a passion for photography into a profitable, fulfilling career. By the end of today's episode, you're going to have actionable insights that you can implement right away, which will help you move from a place of doubt and anxiety to one of anticipation and success. Today, I'm going to walk you through some of the major ways that perfectionism shows up in our work, how it leads to procrastination, decreased creativity, and even burnout. Most importantly, I'm going to give you the actionable strategies to help you move beyond perfectionism and embrace imperfection as a path to progress. Trust me, it's not about lowering your standards. You know I'm not about lowering your standards at all. It's about giving yourself the freedom to create, to fail, and to learn as you go. It's how we do it as photographers. If you're somebody who spends countless hours tweaking settings, overthinking every shot, or waiting for the perfect moment, then you know exactly what I'm talking about. I've been there myself, and it feels maybe like you're always chasing something that's just out of reach. You get caught up in the details, and as a result, you never finish anything. Your work might even start to feel stale or uninspired because perfectionism stifles your creativity. The truth is, perfectionism doesn't just slow us down. It creates a sense of overwhelm, making us feel like we're never really done, no matter how much we've actually accomplished. I've seen this with so many photographers, whether they're emerging into the professional world or those who've been in the industry for years, but still can't seem to break free from that perfectionist cycle. It's easy to get stuck in the trap of always trying to make things just right and then never actually taking the next step. But what I want you to realize is this. The need for perfection is actually what's holding you back from making progress. And you're more than capable of pushing past that obstacle. In today's episode, we're going to I just rewound. Let's just glitch me. Glitch. In this episode, we're going to overcome everything from the mental toll that perfectionism takes on us and how it suppresses our creativity and how it makes us hesitant to take risks and try new things. I'm going to share how perfectionism can even prevent you from reaching your goals and doing the kind of work that you truly want to be known for. We'll also talk about how perfectionism makes us believe that we have to be flawless before we can share our work with the world, when in reality, showing up imperfectly is actually what leads to the most growth. So, as photographers, we're constantly making decisions. We have to decide what lens to use, how to frame a shot, how to process our images, and often we get so lost in the details that we never actually step back and ask ourselves if the work that we're stressing about is actually serving a bigger vision. If you find yourself procrastinating on projects, if you find yourself avoiding that next step or feeling overwhelmed by all the things that you think need to be perfect, know this: you're not alone. Honestly, perfectionism is a challenge for so many of us in the creative world, but it's also something that can completely be overcome. The good news is, as we work through today's episode, I'm going to give you the concrete tools and the strategies to break free from perfectionism and to get back on track. You're going to learn how to embrace imperfection and use it as fuel for your creative vision. We're going to talk about how to set achievable, actionable goals that align with your true creative potential, and how to start creating without waiting for everything to be absolutely perfect. Hey, Teresa, welcome. This episode is for you, by the way. If you're struggling to move forward in your business endeavors or your creative endeavors because you're constantly getting caught in that perfectionist mindset. Have you ever found yourself thinking, I'll do this when I have better gear, or I can't share this image because it's not quite at my level? Then this conversation is especially for you. We're going to explore how to shift that mindset and how to start making some imperfect actions, how to start taking action even if it's imperfect, and how to get back to creating with freedom and with joy. Like, we're supposed to be enjoying this whole photography thing, right? Yes or yes? By the end of today's episode, you're going to have a better understanding of how perfectionism is affecting your progress. And most importantly, you're going to walk away with strategies for moving forward in a way that feels authentic and empowering. We're going to also explore how to create goals for 2025 that are grounded in action, not perfection. So let's dive in and start embracing imperfection together. Let's stop trying to be perfect photographers. Let's talk about how to break free from perfectionism and start making real progress. You're capable of so much more than you actually think. So let's get into it. First, let's talk about the paralysis effect. Paralysis is something that I feel regularly. The paralysis effect. This is literally waiting. This is why, like, for me, I waited for, like, I feel like 10 years to start this podcast, is because of the paralysis effect. Because I was waiting for better gear. I was waiting for being better on camera. Waiting for perfection actually stops you in your tracks. Waiting for perfection. And we have to dive into the most insidious effect of perfectionism, which is the paralysis effect. I own this. This is my space. I know it so much. This is something that many photographers struggle with, and it's something that I've dealt with so many times in my life. Essentially, perfectionism leads us into what's called analysis paralysis. How many people have felt analysis paralysis? Yes or yes? When you become so obsessed about getting every single detail right that you end up completely frozen, unable to make any fucking decisions at all. Instead of taking action and moving forward, you get stuck in a loop and you keep overthinking. Put your hand up if that's you. I've been there so many times. I've been there more times than I care to admit, but here I am telling you right now on YouTube. There's been countless instances where I've spent hours agonizing over, should I shoot with a 50 or should I shoot with an 85? Like, was the lighting exactly how is it exactly how, only to find myself completely paralyzed, unable to pick up a camera and even get started. I'd sit there for hours thinking about all the variables. Was it going to be at your level? Are you at your level, Carty? Thinking about all the possible variations, second guessing myself, and wasting fucking time. Instead of making progress, I ended up getting absolutely nowhere. Just check to see my YouTube channel. You'll see I started my YouTube in 2007. 2007. What if I took YouTube seriously back in 2007 when I started it? Would I not be more popular maybe on YouTube than some of the biggest YouTubers that you know? You don't think I kick myself every day about that? What about crypto? Oh my God, my buddy. He's like, dude, buy crypto. It's like, it's literally like 12 cents a coin. What's that? Crypto. Now he's a cajillionaire. Like, you don't think that we just flog ourselves constantly thinking about all the things that you could have done? This is that paralysis effect. As photographers, we've all experienced moments where we've been waiting. We've been waiting for that perfect thing, eh? We tell ourselves, I'll go out and shoot tomorrow when the light's better. It's a bit overcast today. It's a bit cloudy. Or we hold off on a shoot because we don't have the right gear. I need a 50. Yeah, you do need a 50, by the way. Yes, you do. Go buy it instead of talking about it. Just go get it. Believing that once we buy that new lens or upgrade our camera, everything suddenly is gonna just fall into place. Here's the harsh truth. That gear over there, that R5 right there, that 135 f2, that 85 millimeter 1.8, that 100 millimeter 2.8, the 50 millimeter 1.2 that's on there, I swear that gear does not do a single thing without me. It doesn't do anything. It takes no pictures without me. It doesn't carry itself. It doesn't load itself into the bag, and it doesn't come up with a single idea. That perfect moment, by the way, this is the harsh truth. That perfect moment, that ideal setup you're waiting for, it never comes. You might think that the next day or that next piece of gear is going to give you that perfect opportunity, but it's all an illusion. You actually have to make this whole thing happen yourself. The more you wait for perfection, the more you delay your growth, your work, and your business. I'm going to say that again. The more you wait for perfection, the more you delay your growth, your work, and your business. You get stuck in this endless cycle of, what if I did this before, or what if this happens? Like, you fall between this, like, I should have, and then, what if I do this? Like, and it doesn't, like, before you know, a lifetime has passed and you've missed valuable opportunities to create, to learn, and to grow. This paralysis effect is especially detrimental for new photographers, for emerging photographers. If you're just starting out, it can feel like the perfect moment is always out of reach. You might find yourself holding off on taking on a new idea, a new assignment, trying a new style of photography, because you keep thinking, I'll start once everything is just right. Or maybe you're waiting until you feel more confident. I'm not really that confident yet to go out and try to shoot street portraits. I'm not really that confident to go to a modeling agency and ask an agent if I can shoot their models. I'm not really that confident. Maybe you need more experience. Maybe you're waiting. When I have more experience, you can't get that experience until you do the thing that gives you the experience, right? Or maybe when you get that next piece of gear, and believe me, if you do have an 18 to 55 kit lens, if that's you, open your nearest window, toss it out, so then you'll have no lens and you'll be forced to walk to the store and buy a 50 millimeter. Literally, you can get a 50 millimeter 1.8 for $130, $200, no more. And that 50 is going to be 1,000 times better than your 18 to 55, and you might actually like photography and have sharp pictures. The 18 to 55 is a toy. So, that's one way. So let me tell you, waiting for the perfect moment is one of the biggest things that holds back emerging photographers, and also doing the wrong thing. Doing the wrong thing over and over and over again and not knowing that you're doing the wrong thing. It's kind of insane. But that's what I'm here for. The key to breaking free from this whole paralysis effect is to stop overthinking and simply take action. Don't wait for the conditions to be perfect. Start your project, even if it feels messy, even if it feels incomplete. Send that email to a potential client, even if your portfolio isn't as polished as, even if your portfolio isn't as portfolio as you want it to be. If it's not as polished as you'd like, by the way, secret time, it's never as polished as you like. Here, let's have a look. Let's have a look at my portfolio. My portfolio, you may think that this book, and I mean you should, because I've been doing this for 34 years, and yes, that's Pharrell and Colin Firth and Yasmin Warsami and Cardinal and Ludacris, and you may think that but how I see my portfolio, it has to be way different than how a stranger, Chantal Kreviasik for Canada Goose and Ja Rule and Minnie Jean Trickey was the first black woman to go to a white school in America. So my portfolio is what I do, but you have to be looking at your portfolio also critically, but not so critically that you don't put it out there. Not so critically that you don't show your work, and not so critically that you don't actually progress, Even if it feels messy. If it feels messy, come on. There's industry standards. You got to meet industry standards. Don't be a hack. But if your portfolio isn't as polished as you'd like, it's still okay for you to reach out to a client and inquire about a new opportunity. We get better every time we work. Every time, every quarter, every month, you should be working on making your website better. And if your website sucks, watch some of the content that I have on my channel talking about your website sucks. This is how to fix it. So you're going to learn far more by doing than you will by obsessing over the details that ultimately don't matter in the grand scheme of things. So think about it. When you're constantly waiting for the perfect shot, you're missing out on all the valuable experiences that come with trying new things. Do I have an eyelash here? Maybe. Perfectionism keeps you from experimenting and exploring new ideas. It's easy to convince yourself that you'll get better once everything is just right. But what actually happens is you get stuck waiting for perfection to fall into your lap. Do you think perfection just falls on you? You actually, I make what I think as close to perfect pictures as possible. Like that's what I'm thinking when I'm making photographs. But you have to understand they're perfectly imperfect. Like that's, and I can pick out flaws in my own work. Of course, you should be able to. But my point is that you can't be so up in your own personal flaws that you never completely make your first step. Once you start, even if it's imperfect, you're going to begin to develop your unique style with your pictures, You're going to find your rhythm and you're going to gain more confidence in your abilities. So here's a really important takeaway from this section. Progress comes from action. If you wait for everything to align perfectly, you're never going to get started. But even if you start, even if it's messy, you're going to begin to build momentum. The more you practice, the more you learn. The more you learn, the more you refine your process. Perfection is an illusion. It's the pursuit of progress that's going to help you grow as a photographer and as a business owner. The pursuit of progress. Perfection doesn't exist. In photography, as in life, waiting for the perfect conditions only leads to frustration and stagnation. So instead of holding off on that shoot or that assignment, embrace the idea of this is pretty great. You're going to be amazed at how much faster you'll start seeing results when you just begin. You have to keep shooting, keep experimenting, and most importantly, you have to keep moving forward. So that is deep on the paralysis effect. Let's talk about productivity drain. Because productivity drain. This is how perfectionism. Hey, Teresa, welcome. Thank you, Teresa, for becoming a member of this thing that we're doing here called the Carty Method. I'm a 34-year pro. 34 years, about to be 35 years. I'm going to hit the smoke machine for you in a second. It's just warming up there, Teresa. I appreciate you for joining us and becoming a member. So understand this. Productivity actually drains us. Perfectionism wastes our time. Like, this is another major side effect of perfectionism, how it drains your productivity. I've seen it happen over and over again, both with my own self, with my own work, and with the photographers that I mentor. And I coach lots of photographers. It's easy to get caught in the cycle of tweaking a project endlessly, tweaking post-production endlessly. You find yourself reviewing the same photo over and over again, adjusting the exposure, reworking the crop, the composition, moving things by millimeters, all in an attempt to make the image perfect. You spend hours, sometimes even days, perfecting every little detail. But here's the truth. This kind of perfectionism is a productivity killer, and you're usually doing that on an image that doesn't hold weight in the first place. As photographers, you're trying to make something better that as it stands on its own isn't good by what you're doing after the fact. It's like that horse is dead, so I'm going to beat it and try to make it more dead. It's like that photo's bad, so I'm going to beat it and try to make it good. Just let it go. As photographers, we're constantly striving to capture perfect. We spend an incredible amount of time trying to refine each image until it meets our high standards. But often this obsession with getting every detail just right leads to something worse than imperfection. It leads to stagnation. You spend all this time trying to fix things that don't even matter. You're stuck in a cycle of endless revisions with no real forward momentum. So I've spent times being on my computer, adjusting contrast, wondering if this is a little bit too bright. Like, why waste time trying to find something perfect or trying to make something perfect that in the end, it's not a make or break detail. Don't obsess over small adjustments when you're neglecting the big picture. We're trying to actually get work out there. We're trying to find clients and we're trying to build our business. So what perfectionism does is it creates a productivity black hole. Literally, it creates a productivity black hole. Imagine you're spending hours on one image, but what does that get you? It might make you look good on Instagram, but has it helped you land that next job? Has it helped you grow your client base? Has it helped you push your career forward? The answer is likely no. The real issue is that your portfolio isn't perfect. It's that you're not out there doing the real work that actually brings in the right results. You're focusing all the time on the work. You're not spending any time focusing on the business. Like, you're doing the stuff that you like to do, make photos. You're not doing the stuff that you don't like to do, which is work on the business of photography. Because for some, it's not fun. But once you learn it and you're making $5,000, $10,000 a day, sometimes for me, it becomes pretty fun. Perfectionism stops you from taking action, and without valid action, there's no growth. So the whole point is that you got to stop focusing on making things just right. You're sacrificing the bigger picture. And when it comes to completing a project, finishing a shoot, sending out a proposal, those things are far more valuable. We got to get this jacket off. It's pulling the headphones. There we go. All right. So when you are focusing too much on making things just right, what you're doing is you're sacrificing the bigger picture. When you're trying to complete a project, when you're trying to finish a shoot, when you're trying to send out a proposal, those things are far more valuable than endlessly tweaking a single image. Seriously, imagine what you could accomplish if you stopped waiting for the perfect moment or the perfect shot. The best photographers out there are the ones who create, they deliver, and they keep moving forward regardless of whether everything is perfect or not. They understand that the key to success isn't in perfecting every single photo. It's in the consistency and the effort that they put in to making great and compelling work, but also completing work. By letting go of perfectionism, you actually free up so much more of your time to focus on what really matters. Rather than spending literally days agonizing over a photo, you can spend your time actually creating new work. You can focus on the important tasks like networking with clients, like marketing your business, and honing your skills in a way that actually moves you forward. When you're completing projects, even if they're not perfect, it builds your portfolio. It strengthens your business, and it ultimately helps you grow as a photographer. The trick is to remember that no amount of perfecting one image will replace the value of creating a steady stream of work and pushing yourself to finish projects. Be a closer. Perfectionism often leads to the illusion of productivity where you feel like you're doing something, but you're not moving forward at all. If you can start letting go of that need for every shot to be flawless, you're going to open up time to do the work that actually gets you closer to your goals. Literally, I've experienced this shift, but it's this shift in mindset that makes all the difference. When I stopped overthinking and started prioritizing completion over perfection, everything changed. Like, you understand, I'm okay with my podcast episodes not being perfect. You understand? I'm okay with that. I have to be. I do 3 a week. If I wasn't okay with my podcast being like as good as I can make it, but also knowing I do these live. I'm talking to that camera, but that camera's on. Like, that mistake. Understand, I have to be okay with that and let it go out. When I stopped overthinking and when I started prioritizing completion over perfection, everything changed. And believe me, do you think like me talking to that camera and being on that camera, or talking to this camera and be like, I need to talk to this camera because my notes are here. But understand, like, do you think that makes the content that I'm giving you no longer good, no longer valid? Like, would it be worthy of me throwing this whole episode out because of a mistake that I make? Of course not. So You have to think that the same way when it comes to your own work, your own business. You have to prioritize completion over perfection. And when you do that, everything will change. It's not just about settling for subpar, eh? It's not about like, nah, it's good enough. No. It's about freeing up your time to focus on the bigger picture. Start finishing your shoot, start sending your proposals, and start following through on those goals that you make for yourself, and watch how much more progress you make. The more you do, the better your work will naturally become. It's like, well, I'm not going to do it because it's not going to be perfect. It's never going to be perfect unless you do it shitty. I made shitty videos on YouTube for literally how long? Like once I started to take, and again, I just used YouTube for so long just for client stuff that I would share with, like I would shoot video work for clients, I'd share it on YouTube, blah, blah, blah. But at one point I started to take YouTube seriously. And that was like around COVID, like call it 2021. And it's like, if you look at my videos from like 3 years ago and look at what they look like now, my videos back then were really bad. My podcasts were really bad. They weren't focused. I was all over the place. So, but guess what? I kept doing it and I put the bad ones out there. Progress doesn't come from you perfecting every detail. It comes from doing. And believe me, when I had 600 subscribers on YouTube, 600 subscribers, do you think that I ever thought that I would be almost at 30,000 subscribers here on YouTube? Did I ever think that I would have a business called the Carty Method? Did I ever think of this? Well, no, of course not. If you find yourself caught in the trap of endless edits, tweaking settings that don't make a difference, waiting for the perfect shot, remember this. Let go of perfectionism and focus on completing the task at hand. You'll be amazed at how much time you gain, and more importantly, how much further you can go when you focus on getting things done. So, I want to talk about creative suppression. Creative suppression. It is 2 P's. Creative suppression. And creative suppression is the enemy of innovation. Think about it. It's the enemy of innovation. Like, perfectionism suppresses creativity. Perfectionism squishes down creativity. It's something that is absolutely essential. You need to know this. If you're looking to grow and innovate, you have to know that one of the biggest obstacles, like perfectionism, and we know that it's the fear of making mistakes. When you're obsessed of getting everything perfect, that fear of failure, obviously paralyzing. You question everything, every idea, blah, blah. So creativity thrives on risk taking. Like, this is the thing that, and again, if you watch my last episode, I talked about creativity loves a deadline. Like, creativity thrives on risk taking. Like, you have to take risk. You have to swing for the fences when it comes to your photography career. If you're constantly worried about making mistakes, not only will you never, ever start your photography career or get your photography career to the point where you're making over 100,000, you're never going to push the boundaries of your craft. As photographers, we can sometimes fall into the trap of sticking to what we know. We stick to what we know because it feels safe. You might find yourself defaulting to the same settings, compositions, or subject matter angles. Like, you're still shooting birds. I know it. You love birds, but birds aren't going to pay you to take pictures. You know, and I understand your settings, your compositions, they've worked for you in the past. And I understand that's why you keep doing it. But in doing this, you risk stagnating. You're stagnating likely. Photography is an art form that's all about exploration. It's about experimenting with new techniques, with new composition, lighting, and environments, locations. The very nature of creativity is that it's not always going to be perfect. And that's where growth happens. Look at the work of Jean-Michel Basquiat. Like, if you look at his work, he's just like, oh, I'm just a street artist. But it's like the most profound work ever. And I have Basquiat prints around my studio because I need to see Basquiat work because it is perfectly imperfect. I'll be the first to tell you that some of my best images came from moments of uncertainty, times when I was stepping outside of my comfort zone and trying something new. I remember shoots where I had no idea how the lighting would turn out, but I decided to take a risk or shoot in a location that felt completely out of my visual style. There was fear involved, yes, but there was also excitement and curiosity. There's moments that pushed me forward as a photographer. In those moments of discomfort, when you allow yourself to embrace the unknown rather than run away from it, that's when you often create something that's unexpected, something that's so special. When you're driven by perfectionism, you're hesitant to take risk. You might stick to the same techniques, and of course, we're all afraid of making mistakes. But here's the kicker. The best work comes from those imperfect moments. Think about the times when you experimented, or maybe out of desperation, and ended up with something way better than you even could have planned. When you let go of perfectionism, you're giving yourself permission to fail. And in that failure lies the path to innovation. Failure is often the birthplace of your most creative ideas. I know it's not easy to always break free of that fear of making mistakes, but what I've learned, creativity is not about being perfect. It's about pushing yourself to explore ideas, concepts, techniques. It's about stepping into the unknown and being willing to fail in order to grow. I used to fail on film where it costs money every time I failed. Think about that. It used to cost money. Imagine you buy film, you go around shooting for a day, you develop the film, it comes back and there's nothing on it because the lab exposed it, or the film ripped, or you had the wrong settings, or like there was no take a picture, look at the back, see, make an adjustment, take a new picture. No. You had to wait a week to find the mistakes that you made a week ago and then adjust, do it again, and then wait another week to see if you fix the mistakes. Like it's never been easier. You see the stuff that's on the back of the camera. It's never been easier to fail and grow. Some of the most groundbreaking photographers, artists, creatives throughout history have been the ones who dared to take risks, to make mistakes, and to embrace the uncertainty of the creative process. Think about this way. What creativity is its freedom. But what perfectionism is it's a box. Perfectionism is this box, and it's a box that you've created for yourself. You get so caught up in making everything just right that you limit yourself to only working within this box. But guess what? Creativity, it doesn't live in a fucking box. It thrives when you break free from its walls and explore the unknown and push the boundaries of what you thought was possible. Creativity is born when you let go of the need of perfection, of every shot to be flawless. It's the imperfections, the unexpected moments, the spontaneity of a shoot that leads to something truly unique. I've had shoots where everything goes wrong. The light doesn't work, the model doesn't work, the location wasn't ideal. When I say the model didn't work, it means the model didn't quite get the concept. But some of the most striking images that I've made have come from those mistake shoots, things that at first seemed like failures. The beauty in those moments is that they forced me to think differently, to be adaptable, and to find new solutions in real time. That's where the magic happens, and that's where the best work comes from, and that's the stuff that forges you into an undeniable photographer. When you let go of perfectionism, you stop playing it safe. You let go of that box. That box that you're hiding in, that box disappears. You stop letting fears dictate your creative decisions. Instead, you open the door to exploration, to experimentation, to growth. Creativity thrives when you give yourself the freedom to fail, to take risks, to make mistakes. It doesn't come from playing it safe and sticking to what you know. It comes from stepping into the unknown with curiosity, with excitement. You'll never know what you're capable of if you don't take the first step. So, the next time you find yourself hesitating, wondering if a shot is going to work, if a concept will work, grab on to that uncertainty. Try that new angle. Experiment with that new lighting setup. Go for that shot you're not really sure about. The result, it might not be perfect, but it could be exactly what you need to take your creativity to the next level. In photography, as in life, the best moments often come when we embrace imperfection and allow ourselves to explore new possibilities. When you stop worrying about being perfect and you start embracing the process, that's when you truly begin to grow as a photographer. Creativity is about taking risks. The more that you take, the more you'll discover yourself. You'll discover yourself and you'll truly discover magical work. So, perfectionism really stops you from moving forward. And you have to understand that progress and perfection, they can't coexist. You have to understand that progress and perfection, they can't exist in the same space. Like they literally, they're on two opposing spaces. They can't exist in the same space. The very nature of perfectionism creates a trap where you're constantly aiming for an ideal, like you're aiming for a target that doesn't even exist. Do you understand? Perfectionism doesn't exist. What's perfect to you wouldn't be perfect to me. I'd be able to pick the shit out of it if you're talking about photography. If you're working towards an endpoint where the work, like, when you're fixated on perfection, you're working towards an endpoint where the work is finished and everything is exactly how you envisioned it. But that mindset actually stops growth, because progress is about growth, not about thinking about something and then reaching that exact thing. It's about evolving, about learning, and oh, I thought about this thing, but when then I was doing it, oh my God, I thought about this better thing, and then I did that and I was thinking about, like, next thing you know, I had this thing that was way better than my initial thought because I tried something. The core problem with striving for perfection is that it implies that you've already reached the end. Like this is the thing that is the most messed up about perfectionism. The core problem with perfectionism, that it implies that you think that you're good enough to get there. Like, oh my God, how big is your ego? You're saying that I have the ability to make a perfect final product with no room for improvement. And in fact, I have that ability. Therefore, I won't even actually do it until I can prove that perfect thing exists. Like, I can make that perfect thing. Like, when I bring it back to you like that, it's preposterous. As creatives, it's a mindset that's kind of flawed, right? Growth doesn't happen when you think you've reached perfection. Growth happens when you're open to continuing to constantly refine and improve. Like you reach the realms of perfection when you're open to be looking past that, like you'll reach perfection for somebody else when you're on your journey to something that you don't even know what it is. It's not even you're not even going to get there. Like, it's so far ahead. Like when you're striving, that's when you're going to reach perfection. But like thinking that you're just going to be like, oh, that's a perfect picture. It's like, punch yourself in the face. Seriously, punch yourself in the face if you've ever said that. The goal of progress is to keep moving, to keep experimenting, and to keep learning from what you've already done. If you're stuck in the pursuit of perfection, you freeze. You believe that everything that you need to do has to be fucking perfect before you can move forward. It's a dangerous cycle for any photographer who wants to evolve and succeed in this industry, because you're never going to succeed if you think that you're perfect. Or if you think that you need to be perfect, you're never going to start. What you might not realize is that perfectionism that you're chasing, it's a barrier. It's the worst barrier. And it's the barrier to the very thing that you're trying to achieve. It's a barrier to the very thing that you're trying to achieve, which is growth. Progress requires room. It needs room. Progress, it needs room. Room for mistakes. It requires you to take action before everything is in its perfect state. Hey, by the way, when you go make photos, you're going and you know you have a camera. You're going to go out there and you're trusting yourself that I'm going to come back with photos. You're trusting, like you're literally standing on an idea of something that's not yet built. This is called faith. It's called faith. And whether you're religious or not, you understand, like, if you go out on a photo shoot, if you set up a photo shoot, blah, 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 like you have trust in yourself that you believe that photographs will happen, right? So it takes faith. It's like you're standing on something that's not yet built, and you're getting other people to trust you to stand on something not yet built. But yet, you're still trying to be perfect? When you go out knowing that, you go out doing things, knowing that it's impossible to be perfect, which is why you make photos, but yet you're still seeking perfection? It's through imperfect actions that you're actually going to make the most meaningful advancements. And when you let go of perfectionism and accept that it's okay if I fuck up. It's okay if I fail miserably. And in fact, it's actually better. If I fail miserably, I'm going to learn a massive lesson, and that miserable fail will never happen again. So fails are good. Fail big. You free yourself up to experience the learning and the discovery that leads to real progress. The beauty in making and taking imperfect action is that it's rooted in trial and error. It's this. I'm going to do this. I don't know what I'm doing, but I'm going to do this. And I trust that as long as I try to take that next step, I'm going to find out what the next step should be. Because I'm rooted in trial and error. This is how I'm here, literally 34 years later. I mean, I knew I wanted to be a photographer the first time I touched a camera at 14, but I didn't know it was a job. But I knew that that's all I ever wanted to do. When I turned 17, I saw Vogue for the first time. And seeing Vogue for the first time, this is a job? I argued with my photography teachers about photography being a job and that Vogue was a job. So once I learned, no, it's a job. And it's like that, my whole life was geared towards doing that job. And I tried to count. I think I've only had a handful of jobs since I was 11. Seriously. I've been a photographer since as long as I can remember. And I went to photography school. I went to photography university. I've been getting paid to make photos since I was 20 years old. 20. And 20 years old was the last time I had an actual job. I was 20. So this process of trying things, seeing what works, and adjusting is how we all improve. It's how the world works. Whether you're shooting a new style, whether you're trying lighting stuff, or you're doing an editing technique, take risks. It's not about being flawless. It's about refining as you go. It's about learning from each shot and finding ways to do things better next time. The key is action, not waiting for perfection, but making mistakes and improving as you go. We're going to fail, and you're going to face moments of failure. Maybe a shot doesn't turn out. Cry me a river. Or the concept doesn't quite come together. You know what? It's okay. It's part of the game. It's through those failures that you learn what works, what doesn't, and how you can improve. It's how you grow. Without mistakes, there's no opportunity to adjust, grow, or innovate. Perfectionism, on the other hand, keeps you so focused on not making mistakes that it actually prevents you from taking any necessary steps to move forward. The most successful photographers I know don't sit around waiting for the perfect shot or perfect portfolio. They go out, they make photos. They constantly refine their approach. Every shoot is an opportunity to learn, adjust, and improve. The constant iteration, the constant trial and error, it's what gets them closer to mastery. No one's first shots are perfect. No one's first portfolio is perfect. Your portfolio is never done. And believe me, like first shots, I shot my first shots 40 some years ago. But through continued effort, feedback, experimentation, you eventually get into a place where the work that you produce feels more authentic and aligned with your vision. So you have to let go of the idea that your work has to be flawless to be worthy. Progress is built on action, imperfections and all. Don't let perfectionism keep you stuck in a loop of overthinking and indecision. Take the shot, even if it doesn't feel perfect. Create the portfolio, even if it's not exactly what you envisioned. Start that project, even if you don't have every detail figured out. The more that you create, the more that you learn, and the faster that you improve. Your mistakes are what makes you better. Your mistakes. You grow as a photographer daily, and your growth doesn't depend on achieving perfection. It's about how much you learn each step of the way. So, what I really want to get in lastly here is burnout and how the constant focus on perfectionism is you can burn out. And I've experienced this when you're always looking for what went wrong instead of celebrating what went right. It means like you're always searching for the next thing to fix, the next mistake to correct, and the next thing that wasn't perfect. Like that spirals you into like negativity. You miss the opportunity to enjoy the journey and appreciate how far you've come. So maybe you land a bit, I've experienced like I get a big client and of course I'm excited about the work, but then the perfectionism mindset kicks in. You start thinking about how I could have quoted them differently, or I could have added this, or I could have shot in that location. The edit, I could have forced them to pick different edits. Like you start thinking about what didn't go perfectly, and obviously we have to do those postmortems, but you can't fail to recognize how much you've accomplished. Like instead of celebrating your successes, you're focused on still what went wrong. And that constant feeling of dissatisfaction, even when things are amazing, that's draining, you know? And that's like where the real danger of perfectionism lies. It robs you of the joy in your achievements. It clouds your ability to celebrate your progress and fully experience the satisfaction of your hard work. Perfectionism tells you it's not enough, and that leaves you constantly chasing this moving target. No matter how much you achieve, it's never going to feel like enough until you make this shift in mindset. Like you have to break free from this destructive cycle. You really have to reframe how you view your work and your progress. Instead of focusing on what's wrong, focus on what you've learned and how far you've come and what you've accomplished. Take moments to celebrate your wins, even little ones. And even if it was a small shoot, maybe the shoot wasn't perfect, but oh my God, you learned how to use a light meter. Maybe the edit wasn't flawless, but the final result was a new lighting style that you've never done before. Every step that you take is a step forward towards your growth as a photographer, and it deserves to be recognized. Progress takes time. It's a journey. It's not a destination. And perfectionism will only hold you back from enjoying that journey. By constantly striving for that perfection, you're keeping yourself in a constant state of dissatisfaction. But if you shift your focus from what's missing to what's been achieved, you'll start feeling a sense of fulfillment, which comes with recognizing your growth. Every project, every shoot, every step you take, every time you wake up in the morning, it's an accomplishment. Celebrate those accomplishments, no matter how small they may seem. And understand this. The mental burden of perfectionism, it doesn't have to define your creative journey. You have the power to change your mindset and give yourself permission to be proud of what you've done. Embrace the fact that perfectionism and perfection itself is an illusion. That's progress. Progress is what we should be looking for, and progress is the real goal. When you learn to enjoy the journey, imperfections and all, you'll not only be more creative, but you'll be more fulfilled in your work. You've already come so far, but your journey's far from over. You have to let yourself enjoy it. So take a moment today to recognize how far you've come. Celebrate your successes, no matter how small. And remember, perfection isn't the goal. Progress is. When you make that shift, you'll free yourself from the mental toll that perfectionism takes on you. And you're going to open the door to a much more rewarding and enjoyable creative process. So, to wrap up today, I want to remind you that perfectionism is a trap. It's plain and simple. Did you get that? Perfectionism, it's a trap. It's pretty simple. It'll keep you stuck. It'll keep you stuck in indecision. It'll keep you constantly questioning yourself in your work. Instead of moving forward, perfectionism is going to lead you to inaction. It's going to drain your productivity and it's going to stifle your creativity. So, when you're so fixated on getting everything just right, you're actually losing sight of what really matters: progress. The pursuit of perfection will always leave you feeling like you haven't quite arrived because quite frankly, perfection is an unattainable goal. So if you're feeling like you haven't quite arrived, it's because you're trying to seek something that doesn't exist. And even if you manage to get close in your mind to perfectionism, you'll find yourself chasing that next perfect thing and never being truly satisfied with where you are and who you are. The good news is, the key to real progress is learning how to embrace imperfection. Progress isn't about doing everything perfectly. It's about taking action, imperfect action. It's about learning from your mistakes, adjusting along the way, and constantly improving. Perfectionism tells you to wait until everything is perfect before you begin, but progress demands that you start before you're ready. You understand? Perfectionism and progress, I'll say again, they can't exist in the same space. They can't exist in the same space, and they are enemies. They are at war with each other. Perfectionism, I'll remind you, they tell you to wait until everything is perfect before you start. But progress demands that you start now, even if you don't feel ready. When you take that first step, then you learn, oh my God, I just learned how to do this. And then you do, like, it's a process. It's not a one-time event. Perfection isn't just born. Like, it takes a lifetime to even get into the realm of perfectionism. This is why I'm saying it doesn't exist. It is the sunset. That's the sun that you can never catch up with. It's the moon you can never touch. As we head into as we head 19 days into 2025, and by now it's too long for me to say Happy New Year. It's over. It is the new year. It's 2025. I want you to reframe how you think about your goals. I want you to stop waiting for the perfect conditions to come together, because they never will, bro. They never will. The perfect conditions will never come together. There's no magic bullet. There's no magic moment where everything just aligns perfectly. Oh, next year, I'll have the money to sign up for your coaching. Oh, next year. It's like, bro, cool beans, bro. Cool beans. That means that you have all the time in the world, and you think because it's not your perfect scenario for this thing to happen, for your life to change, it's not now. But it will be in 12 months. In 12 months, then I will be. And then what happens? 12 months? And you did nothing between now and those 12 months different for anything to be different. So now here you are. You know what? Same. 12 more. It's like cake therapy. Glad you're here, man. Thanks. There's no magic moment where everything will just align perfectly, for you. Never. And I don't give a shit what you do, whether you're a photographer or not. Kevin, thanks for hanging out with me, man. The real magic happens when you take imperfect action, when you step into the unknown with confidence, knowing that mistakes are my game, bro. I'm about it. I'm about to make some mistakes so I can correct those mistakes so I can get into doing some work. It's about building momentum by doing, not I'm going to sit here by observing. And by observing, I'm going to observe how to be a professional photographer by observing YouTube. By observing YouTube and watching the right creators, I'm going to observe. I'm going to observe how to be a professional photographer by observation, by watching. We build momentum by doing, not by waiting. Every step that you take, even if it's messy, gets you closer to where you want to be. I know it can be hard to let go of this idea of perfection. Perfection, it's something that's ingrained in us, especially as photographers. We've been taught to always strive for perfection, composition perfection, lighting perfection. The truth is, the best photographers are the ones who create consistently, even if the work isn't perfect. They focus on progress, process, not the outcome. Progress, process, keep going. They don't wait for the perfect moment. They make the perfect moment. They make pictures. They don't take pictures. How many times have you heard me say that? Make, don't take. Don't wait for something to happen so you can fucking take a picture about it. Execute an idea on your own. It comes from here that no one else was there or saw. So, as you move forward into this 2025, I challenge you to start thinking differently about your goals. I want you to focus on progress, not perfection. Moving forward, moving your needle forward, taking that first step, even if it feels like you don't have everything figured out. It's like, do you remember going to school the first time when you were 4 years old? Like going to school on day one, leaving your parents? Like, you did that. Did you I remember that day like it was yesterday. I'm such a mama's boy, and it's like, it was the hardest thing. But in doing that, we learned how to speak English. We learned how to speak words out of our face. We make sounds out of our face that other people understand. It's called language. We can read symbols on pages. It's called there's so much. We do impossible things. What if, do you think that you just open a book and just read it without learning and going through that process of learning how to do it and failing? And it's like, no, Steven, it's not that word. It's this word. It's like, that's what we do. But somehow with photography, and you're being old and shit because you're somewhere between 25 and 55, somehow you forgot how to learn and thought that somehow learning isn't a process. Understand that learning and growing are far more important than flawless. You're never going to be flawless. And you are capable of such amazing things, but only if you stop waiting for everything to be perfect and start working towards your goals right now. 2025 is the year that you break free from perfectionism, and it's the year that you focus on real, meaningful progress. This is the year that you take action and make mistakes. This is the year that you learn, and this is the year that you continue to move forward. I'm excited to see what you're going to accomplish.
This commercial-free live stream was brought to you by the members of this channel. If it wasn't for you, we'd have to fill up these live streams with ads that would just interrupt the flow. The members of this channel make commercial-free content during these live streams possible. Consider becoming a member for $5 a month today to gain access to secret live streams, live chats, and to show your support with that crown badge next to your name. Sharing is caring. If this content has brought you value today, share it, clip it, post it to your socials. Curating and sharing helpful content makes you an expert, even if the content you're sharing isn't yours. Be a curator and share this content with your network. If you're an emerging or struggling photographer that's trying to break free from your current 9-to-5 grind and transition to the life of a working pro photographer, that's our obsession here at the Carty Method. Register, get the support you need. If you're alone and struggling at this craft, make sure you join the Carty Method community. You'll always find help in the show notes. Subscribe on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. Find your creative and business genius with the Carty Method.
Hey, if you subscribe today, you're going to see your name scrolling across the bottom of the screen, like you, Kevin, and Cake Therapy, and Teresa. Glad you guys came in. Welcome. Thanks for mating me and hanging out. If you became a member, you know I love you. It's the members that make this channel work. It's the members that I show the most love to. They get the names on the top. They get a crown next to their names. They get emotes, and they get access to all kinds of secret live streams. Consider becoming a member. I do it all for you. Guys, thecartymethod.com is where you can go. I also have an incredible photo review, photo submission system, which we call the Portfolio Lab. You guys can join my YouTube submissions by going to thecartymethod.com. You can join my community there as well. And digital tools, coaching, all of that stuff is there. Thank you so much for watching. I hope today brought